All right, we are live right now. We got some guest speakers that are at the ORAT One Rental at a Time event. We have Tom, the Frugal Gay, and Jeff and Suleyka, PTO for Life. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having
Hi,
us.
thank you. Hi, Mark.
Yeah, so we scheduled this a little bit about a week ago, and I guess Jeff and Suleyka decided to do some fun traveling. So they're accommodating us, and they're in Jamaica right now. So we're gonna
Yes.
try to deal with the wind, but that's fine. And Tom is traveling also, but he's not doing fun traveling. He said right now. So
Yeah, work
let's
travel.
let's quickly jump into it. So maybe Tom, you can tell us quickly about your experience at the event and being on stage and what you think about it.
Absolutely. I thought the event was awesome. I love meeting up with other investors that are doing the same thing that I'm doing. I love just connecting. The first day I was there, I connected with an investor in Rhode Island who's at 6 rentals, and he's like, how do I get to 8? And I'm like, dude, you have 6 great rentals that are producing this much income. You don't need to get to 8. And just having that conversation with others that are doing the same thing and have that same mindset and know that you can get freedom just by doing this. You don't have to be constrained to a 9 to 5, which is why I'm sitting in Toledo, Ohio right now at a rental of mine. And I got to hear a lot of others that have done it differently than I have. And that's the other thing that I enjoyed about it, was seeing what others have done. And I'm like, man, that would have made more sense. Or maybe I'd try this, or I did do some house hacking in there, but definitely nowhere near what PTO for Life did. So I think being around a bunch of other entrepreneurs that are doing the same thing does nothing but fire me up and make me want to keep going and trying new things and looking at different opportunities that I typically would pass on because I'm uncomfortable.
Bring up a great point about the house hacking. So we do have PTO for Life here. So I forget. Are you guys on your eighth one or ninth one right now?
We're on number 8 right now.
All right. And so what is funding your Jamaica trip right now?
The cash flow of all our wonderful tenants. Thank you very much for letting us have the freedom to go take a random Jamaican trip in the middle of early March.
So what was your guys'
Got,
thought? Because you guys had about a year to prepare, right? Because after last year one's event, you kind of folks were told that you guys are going to be speakers at year two, right? So how was it? Kind of you prepared for 1 year, or did you guys kind of take a break from it and maybe only look into it maybe a few months out?
I had an outline like within probably like a week after talking to Zuber. I was so excited, and I created this outline, and then I would just kind of chisel away at it and add, take away from it every once in a while. So it was kind of like it was a long thing, and I was just thinking like, how am I going to get eight houses into this like 25-minute uh, presentation. So it was tough. It was kind of like on my shoulders for like the whole year. So it was nice to finally be able to deliver it, and took a lot.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. I can only, like I said, I got up on stage to receive the belt, and for me, it was just I was in awe. It was challenging to be up there for like 2 minutes. So I can't imagine being up there and presenting. And I know we talked a little bit before we started. Tom, you said you were supposed to go day one. You did get moved to day two, which was actually helpful. You said for yourself, right? So like, how was your, I guess, preparation for the event?
I reworked my speech after day one because I'm like, well, this makes more sense now that I've seen a couple of presenters, and maybe I want to touch on this more and don't want to touch on that. So I shifted and I reworked, and my husband was annoyed by the time I finally gave it because I kept practicing on him, and he's like, well, wait, mention this, don't mention this, and don't tell this story, it's mortifying, and tell this one because I'm proud of it. And I used the extra day to rework it because I saw what others were were touching on. And I also tried to touch on what they weren't touching on because I did mine a little bit differently than the other investors that I saw presentations from.
Cool. Sorry, I'm trying to deal with all the comments coming through too. So also Ryan Ruff is here. Thanks for stopping by. He's the investor in Toledo. So hopefully you and Tom were able to connect with each other. We also got Chester stopping by, and he has a question for PTO for Life. He says, where are you in Jamaica right now?
We're in Montego Bay. Is that how you pronounce
Can't even pronounce it. Can't read, but he's rich. That's kind of cool.
It's beautiful and amazing.
Yeah.
And,
definitely going to Kingston on Saturday. They're having this huge tribute to Bob Marley. It was his 80th birthday this year. And so all the Marleys are going to be there. There's going to be a huge concert, and I'm going to be there too. So I'm super excited. Kingston, Jamaica.
So Tom, I know you're talking about connecting with investors too. So it sounds like a lot of people have interest in this Toledo area and Ohio market. So did you have a lot of connections coming out of the event now?
I did. Well, I met other Toledo investors, and then I met people from Maine. I met people from Texas. I met people from California that are buying in Georgia. So I got to just network with a lot of investors, not necessarily. I mean, I met a couple people from Toledo. Everyone wants to talk about Toledo. Everyone's excited about the prices. But then when you're here, and I'm here right now, there's a reality that sets in. There's a reason that Toledo has a $100,000 house and not a $400,000 house like what you'd get in Texas or in Dallas where I'm at full time. So I networked as to anyone that came up with me or came up and chatted with me. I'm not the best at it. I didn't realize it until I was sitting there the second day that I had never been to a real estate convention or meetup ever in my 20 years of doing this. I've gone to city hall meetings. I've met up with individual investors. I've done that type of thing, but I've never been in person. So it was different for me actually sitting and chatting face to face and hearing other people crush it. I love it. I love that people see that there's value in, buying a distressed property, fixing it up, making it nice, making it safe, making it habitable, and turning it into income so you don't have to work that 9 to 5. And that was always my goal as I was doing this was how can I get rid of this 9 to 5 and turn this real estate into an income producing asset, which a lot of them, as I bought them, were definitely not producing anything but bills at that time.
Yeah, Chester's giving me a hard time because some of you that were there at the event, maybe I was shedding a few tears when I did receive my belt, but I'm gonna stick with there was something in the air, and my eyes were watering. But sticking on the topic of the belt, maybe real quickly, me and Tom were talking about how he returned home with it, or his husband was kind of jealous of it. But PTO for Life, how did you guys travel back with your belt?
Yeah, so it was definitely something I had to carry. It didn't fit any suitcase, so it was just kind of doing the rock style, just throw it over the shoulder and stuff it in between underneath the seats in the airplane. But
all the drunk people were congratulating Jeff.
Yeah.
And
it was funny. But what an amazing honor, though. I mean, I was happy to get any type of. We weren't expecting anything. We were just happy to share a story. And that was the most amazing thing. And people came up to, I know we ran a little long, but we definitely got great feedback from people coming and asking us questions and wanting to network and all that. And I think that's the best part is the community.
Yeah, the community is great. And, you guys, definitely house hack is your guys' niche. And, Tom, I think a lot of it was people were surprised that, like you're saying, I forget the exact number, but you didn't make a certain amount of income ever, right? And you decided on doing like side hustles and flipping bras and what things like that. And a lot of people seemed like a lot of their questions were directed at that, right? After your presentation. So was that a lot of feedback, I guess, on that part of your presentation?
I think it stood out, and that's what I talked with Zuber about, was it just kind of stood out because I never made I never made more than 80,000. I know we said 100,000, but I never made more than 80,000 at my job. And, but I was able to keep picking up a property every year when I was in my 30s and $40,000 a year job. And it stood out because a lot of people have been stuck there and they're like, I just live in a high cost of living area. I can't do this. And Dallas, when I started buying, wasn't crazy, but now it is. So Dallas went crazy, I just came back to Toledo and started buying more in my portfolio here. I had built up a team over time and started to grow it here because I looked at a house yesterday that was 110,000, and it's a really, like, that house in Dallas would be a $400,000 property. It's a solid house, and I think that that's important for people to understand. There's a lot of value in the Midwest. You don't have to go into your exact neighborhood, and others that I met there aren't necessarily going into their neighborhood. I did meet a couple that is investing right in Toledo and live in Toledo, but I'm 980 miles away from Toledo, and I still invest in Toledo and read the Toledo paper regularly and follow what's going on here because this is where I've put my money to work.
Well, Harrison Tradebetter 99, who was at the event, and luckily he got the pass because he had like a 2-week-old baby at the time. So he got the pass from the wife to attend the event. But he wants to know, would you buy more property in Toledo?
I mean, I just looked at a property this week. It would have to be in the right spot, or it would have to be the right project. And when I say the right project, like, sometimes taking on others' problems doesn't make sense in Toledo, and maybe just building new would make sense as things change. So I think that's something important. When I started, I was like duplex, triplex all the way. And then as I've done this for a while, I'm more attracted, like I'm sitting in a single family. That's my short-term rental for me here in Toledo. Yes, it just have to be in the right spot or the right project. But I'm still looking. I look every day when I wake up. It's like the first thing I do is I'm scrolling the new listings and what did the wholesalers send through. And it's always funny when you see the wholesalers sending you stuff that's on the market and it's on the market for 20,000 less than what they're offering it to you too. So I'm still actively looking. I still have investors that are regularly buying. I have a client of mine has a 6-unit under contract right now and hopes to close that by the end of this month.
And Chester, who also received the belt at the event, says he concurs. Read the daily newspaper. He reviews the Detroit Free Press. So, we have a question from Chester also for Jeff and Suleyka. So, can you touch a bit on the importance of the support team, trusted real estate agents, lenders, handyman, etc.? I'm still trying to vet a reliable handyman.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, the importance is so important. Not only that, it's important to keep them happy and also keep an eye out for others as well, because sometimes people move away or they end up having some kind of like family situation that requires them to take some time away, and so having those backups is super important. Anything?
Yeah, so I would say definitely try to get at least 2, probably 3, especially handymen, because what happens is you get one that literally disappears off the face of the earth. He's reliable. They're kind of, think of him as like a short-term thing where they're great for a period of time, and then you got to find someone else. So if you put all your eggs in that basket of that one person, you'll end up being disappointed. So it's good to have 2 or 3, probably 3 at least. And then try each one out, spread out the work from each of them. So that way everyone's being fed, everyone's happy. And then when that one person that, like, maybe your A player disappears, you still got A- and B+ guy right behind them. And then you're looking for number 3 or 4 in the back end. So it's kind of look for 2 to 3 of each type of contractor, and don't just rely on just one, because what happens is that one will be no longer available and you'll be disappointed in the end. So at least 2, probably 3 or more for each thing is better. But that's the way we approach it, and we spread the wealth out, and then eventually you end up with great contractors over time.
Yeah, and never pay up front we made the mistake of paying up front, and then that same handyman messaged us, and after we gave him like $600 for a job, he said, "Oh, I got tickets for the Grateful Dead show. Sorry, I can't make it." And I was like, "Did we just pay for his concert?" And then he never came to $100.
At least it was
Tom, anything to add to that?
I've made all those same mistakes, and I agree. And I've got a contractor I'm trying out right now on a job, so totally 100% agree. Totally agree with don't pay up front. Be glad you only lost 600. I lost 1250 on mine when they did half the work. They said, "Okay, pay me the second half." I paid them the second half and completely ghosted. Couldn't stop drinking. So yeah, be careful paying up front. Pay a little bit by the day, pay a little bit as the work is checked, but don't blindly just send money like I did, which he did do half the work, but he never came back and finished the other half. So, and for sure, have backups and backups and backups. That's what I'm doing right now with this new contractor. He did a job for me. I've been happy with that job. It turned out really well. So now I've moved him on to a second one, a different type of job, and just make sure that the work's getting done and you're getting what you pay for. Because as a long distance landlord, it's really frustrating to just keep sending money blindly and not getting what you're, and then you get back and you're like, wait a minute, I paid for this roof to be redone. Why is this roof not redone? So I echo everything that they say and agree 100%. And building that team is like key to being able to invest in Toledo, because without my team, and that's how I started when I was 21, I didn't have a team. I had like a couple of friends from work, but it was rough. If I had any issues outside of plumbing, which I've had the same plumber for 20 years, which is crazy, it was just like a struggle from Texas to try and find anyone. But slowly over the past couple of years, I've built up a solid text chain of different contractors and different people that I know don't work with this person, do work with this person. And sometimes my teams overlap and it works out well. Like when my landscaper comes and does my lawn, he shoots me pictures always. And that's great because now I'm checking, oh, did this get done on the outside of the house without the contractor even knowing? I'm checking on the other contractors. So I think that I echo all of that completely.
One more piece too. So we've learned the hard way on this, and I'm sure Tom and Mark, both of you guys have dealt with this with contractors. They add 10 to 20%, 30% premium on the materials. So they say, oh yeah, it's $2,000 for drywall and texture and insulation in that in 2x4s when you're adding a wall or something, and then you find out that stuff is really not that expensive. So the way we learn to do now is now we get either an item.
Oh, we may have lost him a little bit. Okay, well, so are you back? Nope. Are you still there, Tom?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So as far as maybe focusing on the event a little bit, then, what was your overall thoughts? I mean, like you said, you haven't gone to an event like this before, right? I mean, what did you think of the crowd?
I thought the crowd was great. I was very surprised. I was very nervous up on stage. Here they are. They're back. Maybe.
Can you hear us?
Nope, they're frozen again. The crowd was great. I think Zuber has a really good, loyal following. And I saw that with who came through. So, and just chatting with them, because they were telling me things from his show, because I haven't listened to all of them, seen all of them. It looks like they keep coming and going. So I don't know if they've got a bad connection or what.
Well, it's Jamaica. I'm sure they'll be fine. Okay. Well, yeah, no problem. Yeah, you sorry, Tom.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So just I guess was there I know you said you weren't able to stay both days for the entire time, but was there any speaker that caught your attention?
I enjoyed PTO for Life for real. because they did way more house hacking than what I did, but I did do some along the way, and it just propels you so much quicker. And that's when I was in those low income positions, that's how I did it. I had to have a roommate to get into the next property, or I wasn't getting into the next property because my salary certainly wasn't doing it. There was a couple of interesting takes. Like I know on the first day, one of the speakers touched on buying in the bad school district. I can't remember which speaker that was, but when I heard that, I'm like, I have never heard buying in a bad school district. And do you remember who that was? Who had said that?
That was probably Dion and his
I think
Dionism. Yeah, so
yeah.
he just was also on Bigger Pockets recently, I believe, and he did. I forgot the title of the video, but it's almost like how he does things backwards from what people, the way most people look at things. So yeah, that was probably him. But yeah, he's a big part of the community. He wasn't feeling well the entire time, so he just I think he did his presentation and he kind of disappeared after that.
So that was another one that stood out because I had never looked at it that way. I had always been, when I come to Toledo, I focus on 2 or 3 zip codes that I love, and then there's ones that I'll take, and then there's ones that I avoid at all costs. So I just have never looked at it that way. I would say those 2. Oh, I liked the millennial Mike, was it?
Yes, the police officer guy. Yeah,
the SWAT
he's
guy.
all right. No, yeah.
That was just his story was different because he's buying in Gary, Indiana, which isn't far from Toledo, but enjoyed showing that he doesn't live anywhere near where he's buying, but he is still building up a portfolio and putting properties, like doing the same thing that I'm doing, where I'm buying these properties that have been sitting vacant for months or years and putting them back into operation. So I liked that. I would say those are the couple that stood out.
Yeah, I mean, so year 1, year 2, like I've talked about in some of the recaps. Year 1 was definitely more of a celebration. Felt like for me, it was supposed to be for the 50K subscribers. So a lot of the speakers were kind of maybe the originals from the one rental at a time community. So it was a different feeling. And I told people that hold on, Jeff is here. I told people that I wasn't as excited coming to this next event just because it was in the same venue and whatnot. But after leaving, I just felt like the event was so much more enjoyable. It's a lot more fun. The community is growing. Jeff, can you hear us?
Yep, hear you perfectly. We're in a good
Um,
spot now. We're just inside.
so on Instagram, F.I.R.E Investing stopped by. He says he knows you folks. Paul said hi from Property Llama.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So he says he
Yeah.
knows you folks. So yeah, just if you haven't heard, Tom said he loved your folks' presentation also, and some things from Dion, Millennial Mike. So year 1, you folks were attendees, you and Suleyka, and I know you guys
Yep.
had a great time there. Was there any hesitate? Well, you guys were speaking, so you guys were going the whole time. But was there any speakers for year 2 that you caught your folks' attention?
Yeah. So, I mean, there wasn't. I definitely was. We were both really looking forward to Lumberjack Landlord's presentation because definitely to hear that story because you only hear his side and we don't really know the early days. You almost know Lumberjack from today. So it's hard to kind of look back that many years ago, and I think that was the one we were really looking forward to because there's another couple journey and they did things differently, obviously, in their market, and so that was one big one. And then some of the other ones, yeah, I would say that was one of the bigger ones, and she's coming back right now. Here we go. And then the other ones were just saying like what presentations we're looking forward to besides Lumberjack.
Oh, I was definitely looking forward to seeing the Uneducated Economist
Yep.
again. Love watching him. I love his voice.
I think you like to listen to his talking.
I don't understand half the stuff he's saying, but he makes it so understandable at the same time. I'm like, I feel like I get this. It's just great. I love it.
John Williams is here from Instagram. He says he loved both your guys' presentations. Jeff, do you self-manage or rent by the room or use a platform? Oh, you might be muted. Oh, there.
He said, Jeff, what?
Oh, you cut out a little bit. Can you say it again?
John Williams is on Instagram. He wants to know, do you self-manage to rent by the room or use a platform?
Yeah, so that John, we self-manage all those, and there's not really a secret. It's just good screening, short leases, and what I mean by short leases is 2 to 4 month leases to start. Try to really find, I call them not like introverts, basically, that hide in their rooms all day long, and then no TV in the living room. And those 4 things really make self-managing rent by room specifically much more manageable than people think. They think of like college style, a bunch of bros like in a frat house just destroying a place. And it's not like that at all. With those good 4 things, and obviously there's more to it, but those 4 big things definitely make it much easier. And then you attract a certain type of individual that respects the rules, and it doesn't feel like you're managing 4 individuals or 6 or how many people you have in that house.
Great feedback for John. So hopefully, John, that can help you out, figure out what you want to do. So like Tom, a lot of people were interested in your kind of selling on eBay and Etsy and whatnot. But I also see you posting a lot of times on X, right? Like there is, issues or, dealing with customers on that side of it. Is that something you think you're going to be continuing doing? That you still enjoy it?
I do. I just had this. So right now, since I'm in Ohio, my husband's doing fulfillment. I still enjoy doing eBay. It can come and go at any time, but I also like right now I've got all that makeup in a storage unit and I have 2 employees that can go pull stuff and ship it and send it out. So it's something I like to keep in my pocket. It's like my safety blanket. When I took my paperwork to my accountant, he's like, man, you sold a lot more stuff last year than the prior 3 years. And, there's times that I put my foot on the gas and go really hard. And then there's times that I put my foot on the brake and put it on the back burner as needed. But it's just, I've been raised with that hustle mentality and it's just kind of ingrained in me. So I'm in Ohio right now and I saw a crazy good deal and I picked it up and it's coming back with me and it'll be sold off in Texas and listed when I get back on Saturday. But that's just, it's kind of part of me. I can't go anywhere without thinking, oh, how much can I flip this for if it's a good deal? And it's the same with houses. Like I'm always looking, even though I don't necessarily want to pick up and buy anything at this moment, I'm always looking. And some of the best deals are the ones that are poorly listed and thrown up by my friend, the realtor, who's doing me a favor and listing my property. And that's where my best deals come from.
Jeff Suleyka, before we get into Charles' question for you folks, John was asking if you could repeat the 4 things. He said no TVs in the main room, introverts, month lease, or 2 to 4 month lease, and what else? Was there one more he said? Or you said?
Yeah, so go over again. So no TV in living room, number 1. 2 to 4 month leases to start. And if they pass that initial trial, I call it like a trial period, then you give them a 6 to 12 month renewal. Number 3, definitely, so 2 more leases.
Introvert.
Oh yeah, introvert type personalities. And that actually goes along with the no TV in living room, because if they can't congregate in the living room, they go to their rooms, game or watch TV or movies, whatever. So it works out perfectly. And then the 4th one is, we want to make sure that they, for our local market, you can only do 2x income to rent, no felonies, bankruptcies, evictions. So definitely pass that criteria. And the demographic usually for rent by room, as you can imagine, is younger. So 22 to 35 in general, sometimes older, sometimes younger than that, but that's the most demographics. And was there anything else in this? Trying to think of the fourth thing, what I said.
Like specific things?
Yeah. So short lease.
Yeah,
no.
It's bonus when they don't have a car.
Yeah. Oh, long Charles's question. So 15, the best locations are 15 minutes of like a major metropolitan area. So you have jobs, you have close to interesting things, 15 minutes radius, transportation, close to, they don't necessarily need a car. Think of it like that. They don't be so over reliant on it. But along those lines, parking is probably some of the most important things, because if you rent out a 6-bedroom house, you need to have 6 spots in that lot. So a corner lot is most ideal for rent by room investing. So more parking, the better.
Yeah, so that's what REI Jared also does, who also got a belt at the Already event. For his rent by room, he's always looking for corner lots, if possible. Charles says he thought a great internet would make the list.
So you do want to have Charles, that's a good point. High-speed internet is important. So you definitely provide that as part of the rent by room, all utilities included and internet. And you want to make sure, we live, in Denver, so we have basements here. So we have to do hotspots sometimes, or like little ones where the different parts of the house that doesn't pick up as easily. So that's also important to make sure the guys that are gaming or watching, streaming, and doing all that stuff, they're good.
So Tom, for yourself, Zuber's always hoping for feedback and ways to improve. What is there anything that stands out in your mind that maybe he could try and improve on for year 3, as far as from a speaker's perspective?
The only feedback that I would give was that when I got there, they're like, we don't know who you are. You're not, we have no name tag for you. Maybe you should go sit upstairs. Maybe you should sit downstairs. Maybe you should wait outside and we'll see if anyone knows who you are. So that would be my only feedback, and that's also why I didn't want to stick around and eat someone's lunch. So that's why I left at lunch each day, because I didn't want to take from the people that were paying. So maybe at least the people that were checking in knew what to do with the speakers, because I even went back up because I'm like, hey, I want a name tag if I'm going to hang around. And they're like, yeah, we don't have you on any of these lists, but we'll give you a name tag anyway. So that would be my only critique. And it's not even a bad one. It's just something that I thought, and I don't know if other speakers had that same thing.
Just give you the belt ahead of time so you can walk around with the belt for the whole event.
Right. Once I had the belt, everyone wanted to talk to me. They're like, no name tag needed. And I'm telling you, I walked back to my hotel with that. Everyone was excited on the street as I walked down there. They're like, how much for the belt? I'm like, it's not for sale. Leave me alone.
I told everyone I won it on Fremont at the midget wrestling championship that weekend. So
you came up with a better answer than I did.
But yeah, I'm sure Zuber will look into that. I mean, that's a great point. I think the one thing that a lot of people, was it hard presenting? Like, I guess people felt like they couldn't hear or see things, right? So I'm not sure if maybe Jeff and Suleyka, because you guys had slides on yours, right? Like, how was that?
Yeah, so I'm still worried whether anything was visible or not, because like all the lights were kept on while the screen was down, and so it just created this like white cast on it. And that's why I switched up a lot of the pictures that I used to have, because when I saw lumberjacks, I was like, ooh, ours are gonna like just wash out. So then I went in and I dug for other pictures, but I think it was inevitable that it was still not as visible.
Yeah, so in some of my recaps, that was some of the feedback we got from the people that attended. They're hoping maybe they could get screens upstairs so that the people upstairs can see what's being presented, and also even maybe to Tom's point, have like a either a notebook for the event that has all the speakers, their bios, their handles, and just someplace you can take notes and for contact. So that way the people sitting there can also see who the presenters are. And I think that would help with getting questions ahead of time. I think a lot of times, you had like Graham Stephan. I know he was a surprise speaker and whatnot, but nobody really had time to prepare questions for him being on stage. And I think that sometimes the challenge is coming up with a question right then and there. Let's see. Trade Better says, any thoughts and or improvements would you have for the audience as speakers? Was it distracting? So a lot of it we heard so far, there was a lot of background noise, a lot of secondary chatter, I guess, going on.
So people kept wanting to ask me questions after mine, and I didn't want to be rude to the speaker, so I kept trying to move people to the lobby when we were talking. But I think that's just part of, it's fresh on their mind. You just talked and they want to talk to you about this question or that question. So I think a spot to move those that want to have those questions out of the area would be beneficial. So you're not over talking whoever's up on stage or that, because you don't want to take away from someone else's presentation.
Yeah, Charles says your slideshow looked good. John Williams is here. He said Zuber needs to tell people to network in the lunchroom. Yes, that's a lot of that is my fault. I probably was talking a lot in the back, but he said he is looking into that. I think there's like sound curtains they're looking at implementing to prevent a lot of that kind of background conversations going on. So those are a couple of things people recommended. Speed dating, I don't know, like a speed dating networking type of event where people sit down. Yeah, you guys would be down for that, you think?
That was an idea that I had last time, and I just brought it up to Jeff. I was like, that would be so cool. Like, if you could speed date and just talk to as many people as possible, jot down some numbers, get to meet some people just like quickly, like right after lunch or something, people that you didn't get to sit next to or whatever. Yeah, that would be fun.
All right, I have to say this comment real quick on it's on Instagram. John Williams is still there. He says Chester has a 2-question limit from now on. Zuber has to put in a limit for Chester asking questions. So hopefully you're still there, Chester. That wasn't me saying that. That was John Williams on Instagram. So go find him. Let's see. Charles says side screens work good. A scan code would work at the beginning of each speaker. Oh yeah, that's something that could be that would make a lot of sense. Let's see. Tom, I know you, like you said, you didn't stay for both days. You had other activities also planned. When did you arrive for the event, though?
I came in Thursday, and I have a good friend that's an investor in Las Vegas, so I hung out with her a couple days, and just my hotel was full of British soldiers in uniform, and I didn't want to miss any of that when I got there. That was like every gay man's dream. So I stayed busy when I was there, and I came with $500 to gamble, and I went home with $300 in my wallet. So it wasn't a bad trip. I feel like taking anything home in my wallet was a win. So that was also, I did do a little gambling on one of those days.
PTO for life. What about you folks? When did you guys arrive and leave? Did you guys change plans since year one? Like, I don't know when you guys, like how much time you spent on year one, but year two, did you extend your guys' stay?
Are you up?
Well, because it's Valentine's weekend, we had our Valentine on I think Thursday instead of Friday. So we had it one day early because on Valentine's Day, that was the day we wanted to see Dion and Lumberjack and Denny's. But I didn't get to make it. Jeff made it. So that was cool.
But I missed them both, I guess. Dion was sick and Lumberjack didn't make it on Friday. So I was like, well, it's still good because I still like seeing everybody else because it's amazing to meet such like-minded individuals that you don't usually get to see or meet in our local market. I just love the energy of everyone there.
Late Start Well says, what about a broadcast on Bluetooth so we could pair headphones? Huh. That'd be interesting. That'll be something to look into. Let's see what else we got here. Nobody there. You got something to say? Look like you're gonna say something, Tom.
I was just going to share that a couple years ago, I bought a pallet of Valentine's candles. And while I was in Vegas, my husband sold the last of them. And it took 3 years to get rid of them. And I was so happy when I got home and I saw no Valentine's candles. It was like a miracle. And now people keep asking us, they're like, do you have any more of those candles? We're like, no, thank God they're gone. Buy some Mother's Day candles. But I forgot how many people come to Vegas to get married, because I'm telling you, all day Friday at my hotel, I was like in the elevator with someone who had just gotten married, and they were fighting with each other, and it was a very awkward ride up. But I'm like texting with my spouse. I'm like, you forget how many people come here to get married on Valentine's Day. I think that this city is like a Valentine city. So I forgot about that going into it. Like I knew it was Valentine's Day, but I definitely forgot about how many people come to Las Vegas to get married. So that's just all. No
So
more
John
Valentine's candles, guys.
John Williams is jumping over from Instagram to make up with Chester. Seems like he said jumped over. Said, "I love your questions, Chester." So he was just having fun. But Chester does answer a lot of good questions, so we don't want that to end. But I just think part of it is it's hard to come up with questions when you don't really know who the presenters were or maybe what their story was. So it's kind of hard to come up with things right at that moment. So maybe just a little more heads up, or even like I said, a notebook that has all their bios and handles would be super helpful. So I guess
Esther was prepared. I remember when I stood in line when Dr. Jeff was talking, and he had this whole like 10 questions. I was like, Chester, let him finish. He's not even done. You have 10 questions. The good thing is Dr. Jeff was answering those questions as he was speaking, so that was good. So then it whittled his questions down. But he's prepared, that's for sure.
I will keep my comments to myself, but I love Chester, so he knows it's all in fun. But next year, Tom, do you think you might attend year three as an attendee, or what's the plan? Do you think?
We will see. We will see where I end up, because we're doing some additional travel this year, and if I am still stateside, we'll see.
Oh, interesting. Valentine's Day weekend. You got to bring the spouse next time.
I
Hey,
took him
Hugo's here.
last year, and he is not a gambler, so it was just me getting dragged around to buffets all weekend. And there's a reason that he stayed home to sell Valentine's candles this year.
Hugo, we got Hugo from Stay Winning Podcast tuning in, so go check out his YouTube channel. Go subscribe. I think you've connected with him on X, right, Tom? Yeah. So Hugo's a good guy. He couldn't make it to
Yeah.
Vegas. So he came in
Yeah.
year one.
I met him a couple times at FinCon, so definitely Hugo's awesome.
Are you going to FinCon? I think Hugo in my earlier live today mentioned it's in Portland, I think, this year. Are you going to go to FinCon?
I'm not. I'm taking a break. Like, I am conventioned out from. I when Zuber asked me, I said yes, because I had never done a real estate one. But FinCon, I am just on I've gone a couple of years, actually the last 3, so I'm ready for a little convention break.
Do you have a favorite buffet? Hugo is asking.
I can tell you my husband's favorite is at Bellagio. And it's just because I think it's one of the most expensive, and his favorite thing to do is spend. So it didn't stand out to me. My favorite is actually a place called M Resorts, which is on the far south side, way off the strip. That was my favorite. And we didn't even go the year that we went because it was so far off the strip. I had just gone in the past, and when I went, that one just stood out. It was like a locals buffet, but it was very, very good. But if it was based off my last year experience, it would have to be Bellagio, because we ended up going to that one twice.
Jeff and Suleyka, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be at year 3, right? Is that the plans?
Oh, yes, we'll be at year 3. We're a big fan of making it like an annual tradition. Like every year they keep having it, we'll be there because we love Vegas. We love meeting everyone, and we'll make it happen.
We love learning too. We should always there was a quote that I saw somewhere. It said, instead of looking down at the people that aren't trying to get better, look up at the people that are already doing better and learn something from them. And it just helps you move forward. And not that I look down on people that don't want to try, but it's so much better to like just aspire to do other cool stuff like what Tom does with the makeup and with the purses and the bras. Like, so cool. So interesting.
Well, let's stay on that point real quick, Suleyka, because I think your friend attended with you folks, right? And she is closing on a house hack, or she's going to be doing a house hack. So, what was her thoughts on the event?
She loved it. She sent me this whole paragraph after she got back, on how wonderful it was, how she was super inspired. So she tried to do house hacking last year. She's a nurse, so her niche would have been travel nurses. And she already had people lined up. And unfortunately, because of things with like taxes and the lender and whatnot, Jeff was her realtor. Because of all that, it didn't happen. And so she just didn't let that keep her down. She's been saving up. She's going to go for round 2. So anytime this year, she'll be under contract hopefully soon. And she's going to start house hacking.
Awesome. So she doesn't have any rentals right now, then, but she's trying to head down that path. So I think that was the one big takeaway too. A lot of people just feel so welcome there, even if they don't have any rentals, right? They're just there trying to learn. They're inspired, motivated. So that's one big takeaway from the community. I think that's what Zuber's trying to build, is just a community of people willing to help and learn. So I know Tom, you are not maybe as much in the one rental at a time community, right? But you kind of got to see what the community is about, right? So
For sure. And I've been on Zuber's podcast before. And the reason I like it and I migrate towards it, and I've been on Bigger Pockets Money before. I feel like Zuber's community has no bro attitude, which I feel like I get a lot of when I am trying to listen to Bigger Pockets. So that's why I migrate more towards it. Because I feel like I couldn't stand up on stage and talk about bras and makeup with Bigger Pockets, although I did on Bigger Pockets Money, but that's with Mindy and it's a whole different community over there than just straight Bigger Pockets. But that's what I like about his community, is that I don't feel like I can't have that conversation. And it's not that I need to do that, because I have plenty of real estate horror stories that I could share, or victories that I could share as well. But that's what I like about the community. And that's why when he's like, do you want to do this? I'm like, I'm down. Sign me up.
did you just say all like what podcasts you've done, and you didn't even say that you're on Mind before Zuber's channel?
I really think you were like the third podcast I ever did. I've done a bunch and I don't hardly do any anymore. So when you asked last week, I'm like, yeah, I'll go on again. But yeah, you were like my second or my third podcast ever. And I think you were my third. And I was still very nervous at that point and still wearing headphones and, trying to get into that mindset that people want to hear my random stories. Now it's fun, and I try and tell a different story every time. Like a true story, not just like a made up one, but just like another random nonsense story that has come up over the past years.
Yeah, because things come up, huh? Yeah, definitely. Like we just had a situation where a roommate calls Jeff and is like, I have a problem. And I always tell Jeff, like, Jeff, if it's not on the lease, it's not really our problem. Well, in this case, one of the roommates came home and started massaging this other guy's feet while he was sleeping. They don't know each other. And the guy had just moved in just a couple weeks ago. So that was something, huh? I was that's like, first. Oh my God, like that's a first. Like, and he didn't tell him anything. That's the thing. He was like, well, I didn't tell him anything on the spot. I just kind of like, okay, yeah, I just let him. And then he started, I guess, massaging his like calves too. And then he didn't say anything until like a week later. So it's just weird. Things come up randomly.
You're always surprised with real estate investing. Like there's never a dull day.
Yeah.
Hugo says he saw a bunch of stuff for sale at Party City since they filed for bankruptcy, and got inspired by Tom to buy some stuff to flip on eBay.
I love it. think if there's an opportunity there and someone will buy it, then go for it, Hugo. And that's always like, I was at the Libby Glass Factory outlet in Toledo, and I'm like, they're giving away these glasses for like nothing, and you throw them up on eBay. Libby Glass Factory Outlet was one of my second best suppliers last year from discontinued glassware. People collect certain things from certain bars, from certain restaurants, and nobody in Toledo, Ohio wants any glasses with butterflies on them. But you know what? I shipped out a ton of glasses with butterflies all over the country last year. And it just added to my fund of the new roof that's going onto this house next month. And that's, awesome, Hugo. I think if more people took advantage of others' trash, which that's what it is to Party City at this point, they just want to get rid of it and be done with it. That's how I built my portfolio, trash into treasure.
All right, so I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. You guys are in Jamaica enjoying yourselves. Tom is in Toledo traveling for more work than play, though. But anything else you guys want to chime in about the event or last minute thoughts, feedbacks about it?
I thought it was great. I mean, and I thought it was a good experience. I left with money in my pocket, a huge ass belt that TSA is like, what did you do to get this? And I thought it was a good experience to network with others that have that like-minded thought. And that's why I liked, PTO for Life just touched on, even the investors that are there that haven't bought their first one yet, they want to do it, and that's why they're there. That's why they're spending their time and their money there. So I thought it was a great opportunity to network with other like-minded, because when you talk to people about it at work, like I used to when I was at the movie theater, they don't care. They don't, they're like, I don't care that you bought a crack house on eBay. I just want to go home early. So that's my thoughts. I thought it was awesome.
I'm wondering, Tom, as the frugal gay, what specifically is like the most frugal thing that you've ever done?
I mean, you're
like, I'm living up to my name right now.
I mean, sure. Early, I would not house hack without a roommate covering my full mortgage. So that was one thing. And I had 2 roommates at one point, and I had a similar situation with the massaging of the feet, except for it was this one roommate was whipping hot dogs at another roommate. And I was actually in Las Vegas at the time. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. So I had 2 roommates. So I've done that. And then there's other things, like I've bought a pallet of jeans before, and I'm like, these jeans are going to pay for my wedding. And they did. Like I sold every pair, and we paid cash for our wedding. And that, so I've I'll find a way to do it if I want to do it bad enough, or a way to pay for it, or a way to make it work. And I think that that's something that people can hopefully take something from.
At least I made sure this is not suitable for kids in the description. like Hugo said, this escalated quickly. Some of these stories.
It literally was. There were raw hot dogs when I got home. Like I'm not even using that as a code word. I was confused that one roommate who started it had moved out by the time I got back. It was a mess. It was not a good situation, but did not deter me from house hacking either.
I don't know I think PTO for Life, you folks met Curtis. I don't know if Tom had a chance to meet Curtis, PE turned RE, but he's one that's he's going to be doing some big stuff soon. I think maybe he'll be on stage one day also. When you're talking about Frugal, he did a house hack, and he didn't have a shower in his first house hack. He basically boarded up one of the walls, and he had a toilet, but he would go shower at the gym. He would go shower at the mom's house. But that's how he got his foot in the door, and that's how he's on his second house hack now, I believe. So he combined.
I think that's awesome, and little sacrifices like that make later on the experiences, the cocktails, the fun, the whatever, the vacations. He got to pay for his wedding cash because of these jeans that he sold. Like, it makes that final thing that much sweeter. and you just really feel like you earn every single bit of that end goal. And so that's good for him. Yeah, Curtis is great. I'm so glad I got to meet him at the event. Because we had messaged each other since the last event.
All right. Well, this was a fun one. Definitely took some turns that I didn't expect. But anytime you folks want to come back on, you guys are always welcome. Jeff Suleyka, you guys enjoy Jamaica. Tom, thanks for doing this. I know you're busy, but we'll try and get some more content out there together, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right. Hope to see you guys all at year 3. Yeah.
Thank you so much.